Hello, welcome to the Elone Show. I'm your host, John Malone. In this episode, no regulars, because reasons, as always. As for our guest, he's from Houston, currently somewhere in Atlanta. He is an attorney and a writer, and probably more, but we'll get to that eventually. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Russell Little.
Thank you so much for letting me be on today. I am actually in the hills of Georgia outside of Atlanta. It's beautiful.
Nice, very good. So, how's life?
Well, life is good. Uh, in fact, I just found out I get to actually have pie this weekend. Anytime you can have pie, it's great. I live a vegan lifestyle, but I get an exception this weekend because it's July 4th here.
Oh, yes, that makes sense, because it'll be that day that United States independence from the Brits.
Yes. I like the way you said that. That's funny. We threatened independence.
Yes, of course. Yes. So, is there anything you're currently working on or up to recently?
Yes, actually, I am. There are two things I'm working on. Number one, uh, I have my next book is coming out, Murder by Storm, which is a murder thriller in that occurs during a hurricane. And that's coming out in October. And I'm very excited about that. I actually wrote out Hurricane Harvey in Houston, Texas. It was a hurricane that hit Houston and it stayed on top of Houston for 5 days. Houston got 52 inches of rain, and I was wrote it out in a high rise in downtown Houston across the park from where all the poor people that were flooded out of their homes and had to be rescued were taken. And I spent the week walking through the park during the hurricane, helping those people, and then uh, uh, helping those people. And then after the hurricane left and those people were able to move to the next level of care, I spent the next several months helping people, total strangers, gut their homes and get them ready to rebuild. And it was a life changing experience. And I decided I wanted my next book to record all the amazing things that I had seen during the hurricane that there's no way you could believe it unless you saw it, like manholes exploding and the water burst out of a manhole and have a sustaining 2-story fountain that streams out of the manhole in the street. Unbelievable. You couldn't believe that unless you saw it. Or rain that swishes and goes up instead of down. It's just the craziest thing you ever saw in hurricanes. So I wanted to
Yes.
record all that. And I've always thought the perfect way to get rid of DNA is flood water during a hurricane. So what a place to put a murder thriller.
Mm. Oh, yes, absolutely. What inspired you to become an attorney and/or author/writer?
Well, the reason I became an attorney is because I grew up a poor kid, uh, blue collar, from a small town in the panhandle of Texas, and uh, I wanted I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted uh, the people that were lawyers were the people that had the large houses with actual trees. Where I lived, they really didn't have trees, and I thought I wanted a house with trees. That's I wanted to be a lawyer.
Mm.
Uh, but I always wanted to be a writer too. But and I started writing when I was in college, but I wasn't able to finish anything because then I went to law school and then I built a practice. And the law is a jealous mistress. It demands all your time, all the time. And uh, I raised a family and I practiced law for 40 years and stayed married to the same woman for 41 years. And that took up everything. But once the kids left for college, I was able to finish the first book. And then after the hurricane, I was able to finish the second book. And right now I'm midway through the third book, which is a murder mystery during a trial in a small town.
Ah, all right then. Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
Huh, I hope I'm alive. I'm 67 years old. It's a good thing I'm a marathon runner because that gives me hope to be alive in 20 years. Uh, when Baldwin's first book came out, he was a famous uh, black writer from the 60s, part of the civil rights movement. And he got his degree from Howard University. And then after his first novel, he had a book launch at Howard University. And one of his professors walked up to him and said, was holding his book and said, "This is nothing. Wait till you have a shelf." So I'm hoping to have a shelf by then. I'm hoping to have 5, 6, 7 books done by then.
All right then. Sounds impressive and very motivated. What is the largest thing you have ever witnessed?
Wow. Well, that can be positive or negative, can it? It can be the largest things. I've been to political party conventions. I've watched crashes where people have died. I've fought my way through. I've ridden out 5 hurricanes in Houston, Texas. The last one, Harvey, as I described it, where I was involved in. I would say helping the people during the hurricane. That was watching that hurricane destroy a city and then watching the people come together helping each other. I think that's one of the largest things I ever witnessed. Watching the way people can be so divided and fight, but when everyone is in need, how people can come together, it can be quite amazing. It doesn't last long, but it's a quite amazing thing. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever met anyone famous?
I've met a lot of people famous. I worked for Ronald Reagan. I met Elizabeth Taylor. Uh, uh, it's like Ronald Reagan is not, he comes across on TV like this big man. Ronald Reagan actually was not big. He was kind of a little guy. He just seemed to come across large on TV. It was an amazing thing. Or, like I said, Elizabeth Taylor. The reason I mention her is because when I met her, I remember being stunned that the color of her eyes were violet. You would hear that. That was a thing. But I didn't really believe it because who has violet colored eyes? She did. It was amazing.
True, true. What would you do if you found out you won the lottery?
If I won the lottery, frankly, I've always felt like I did win the lottery. I was this poor kid from Amarillo, and I wound up having a law practice and 3 adult children, happy, healthy, loving children, and a wife of 41 years. I now live on a house on the side of a mountain outside Atlanta, and I write books. I mean, I think I hit the lottery. If I did win the lottery, I'd probably give it to my kids.
True. I can actually see it right now. And man, it's satisfying. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like I have a patio to have a cigar covered by the forest. What's better than that? We're traveling to Greece this summer, so I get to already world travel. I think I hit the lottery.
Yeah, absolutely. If you were given 500 acres of land, what would you use that land for?
Where is this acreage? Is this wooded land or is this urban land? Big difference, right?
It's just land.
Okay.
There's nothing on it yet.
There's nothing on it yet. Okay. So
Yes.
we're talking about rural wooded land, which if I had that, I would First, I think I would probably. I'm a city person. I'm an urban person. I live before I moved to the hills of Georgia. I lived in a high rise in downtown Houston for 10 years, which I love. So if we're talking about rural land, I would probably either sell it or I may well give it to my kids so they could enjoy it, or I might sell 1/3 of it to pay the taxes because we both know if I suddenly had 500 acres of land, I'd have to pay taxes. So I might sell 1/3 of it to pay the taxes and then keep the other 2/3 as a place for the family. I've never been one to want second homes or to live in the country because I've always considered them prisons because I like the interaction of people. I love the inner city. I love to travel around the world. And something like that might be more of a prison to me than anything liberating. So I would probably, just like the lottery, I'd probably either give it to my kids or I'd trade it off for a condo and a high rise.
Ah, nice, very good. Would you sleep on the wall or sleep on the ceiling?
Where am I? To sleep on a wall or sleep on a ceiling? I think I would sleep. If that's all the question is, then I say I would sleep on a wall.
Okay, fair enough. Where was the nicest place you've been to?
Okay, that's easy. It was in Morocco. We stayed on the top floor of a ancient hotel, and we stayed in a top floor uh, bedroom that overlooked the Strait of Gibraltar and the most beautiful water I'd ever seen in my life. And they had, and this little ancient hotel that had been redone by a British couple that had decided to escape the busy life and to find their own life. And so they had bought this little hotel and redone the whole thing. And it was just unbelievable. It was right out of Casablanca. It was so perfect and so beautiful. And everything was so blue because the sky was blue and the ocean was, or the Strait of Gibraltar was blue. And it was just beautiful. And it had this beautiful terrace with these flowers that this British couple had just made perfect, and all the food was perfect. That was the most perfect place I've ever been. It was about 7 o'clock, and we had drinks with the couple that owned the hotel on this terrace overlooking the Strait of Gibraltar. It was perfect.
Oh, yes. The beauty. It's gorgeous. If you could host your own talk show, who would you have on?
I would have authors on. I do host my own talk show. I host a podcast and we interview new authors every week. And there's three of us that interview people and the authors. We have one person that's kind of the production person, serious person. We have another person that is the interviewer, and I'm kind of the loosey goose. I ask questions. I get in disputes so we can have interesting conversation and discussions, and I make jokes. And we have a great show and we have a great time. And we've been doing it for 9 years. So I love that show. It's called Author Talk. We're on every week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. And how long was that show going for?
For 9 years. We started it a long time ago.
Wow. That's long. Even by my standards, I started like 2 years ago with this podcast. So
But 2 years is like 7 times longer than the average podcast. So you're the winner already, right?
I had no idea.
Yeah. The average podcast that people start, the average one lasts about 6 weeks. If you've been on for 2 years, you're a going concern. You've won.
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, you're the winner.
Wow, that's crazy. Would you consider yourself to be an extrovert or an introvert?
I'm a wacko extrovert. In fact, my wife, who is a introvert, uh, uh, has to keep me on a tight leash so I don't embarrass her because she is an introvert. But I'm the kind of person that I can go in a room and meet everybody and have everyone laughing in 15 minutes.
Ah, I see.
I can do it, but it's an energy that I have to turn on. It's something I can choose not to do. And the older you get, the more often you choose not to do that, of course, because that's just the way it is. But I'm a complete extrovert. There's no qualification on what I am.
Fair enough. Good point. I'm kind of like that too, but at times I just want to do stuff for myself, and then eventually back I go into the real world.
Exactly. I mean, being an extrovert does not mean you don't have self time. You don't choose to have inner directed time. That's not what it means. It means when you that you are not afraid to step out and reach out.
Hmm.
And in
Yes,
fact, if you're an extrovert, you're energized by it, just like me. It gives you a rush.
it sure does.
Yeah.
Who was the last person you talked to?
I guess my wife, because she promised me that she would go try to get us a uh, apple crust pie for July 4th weekend, which is like the greatest thing that could happen to someone who has to be a vegan almost all the time. So that's who I talked to. That's who I'm going to check after our interview because I'm hoping for a piece of pie.
Hmm. Yeah, of course. How many countries have you been to?
Maybe 50? Uh, maybe 50, 40 or 50 countries I've been to. We usually go to two or three a year. We usually like last fall we were in Japan and Korea. Uh, we leave in a couple of weeks for Greece, Turkey, and Italy. I've already been to Italy. I've already been to Turkey, but I haven't been to Greece.
Nice. Impressive. I only been to a handful of countries. One of them I go every year to see family, and that's about it.
Well, you know, international travel is very important. Uh, in the Muslim faith, there are two ways that you become an educated human. There's through books, through the study, but that's not a fully educated human unless also travel. Travel's the other half of the measurement of if you're an educated person. And if you travel to a handful of countries, you know why, because it opens up windows that you didn't know existed. And you get to look through spaces that and worlds that you didn't know was a possibility. And the only way you could know about it is to travel. It's a a mind bending thing to travel.
Yes, couldn't agree more. What could you give a 40-minute presentation on without any preparation?
One of my books, A Question of Law, uh, how to try a jury trial and win, how to negotiate from a weak position and still gain the advantage, how Shakespeare should be taught in high school, in American high schools. Uh, what is who do you prefer, Aristotle or Plato? The Republic of Rome, Dostoevsky. Those are,
Nice. That's a handful a lot of topics and subjects.
yeah, I could speak about any of those. Right now, I'm back into the Republic of Rome. It's kind of one of the things I study.
Fabulous. If you were chosen to be a colonizer for a new habitable planet, would you take the opportunity?
Absolutely. I don't know why they would want to take a 67-year-old man. You would want to have you'd want to have young people that could create the next generation. But assuming that you had all of that stored away for later, I would absolutely go. Why not? I believe that as you grow older, it's important to disrupt your current lifestyle so you can feel the motion of time. You want to be the bug that floats, that skirts the sand on the bottom of the creek so you can feel the movement, not floating on top of the creek, going down the water without knowing time moving. So, yes, absolutely. I'm in Georgia because I wanted to disrupt my life from Texas for that same philosophical reason. So, I would absolutely do it.
Fair enough. That'd be pretty cool. If your mind was an island, what would it look like?
It would look like Bali. I just saw a picture of Bali last week. It's the most beautiful island I've ever saw. It's this beautiful paradise surrounded by a cone, maybe 500 meters, maybe 1,000 meters outside of it, surrounded all the way around by a coral reef that goes all the way to the surface with one opening. So the island is completely protected, but it's beautiful. It's perfect. It's white beaches. It's perfect. So that's what I would want to look like, if at least my mind.
Good point. I
Which
see.
that also says that psychologically, I want my brain to be hidden by a coral reef. So psychologically, that says that there's a dark part of it too, right?
Yes, of course. Like it always will be. That's interesting.
Mhm. It means I'm trying to hide something.
Yes, that too.
Yes.
Yes, I guess. What food have you never eaten, but you would like to try someday?
Live Korean salad. Do you know what that is?
Nope, never heard of it.
That is the only dish I have not been able to try that I've tried to try. I can't, they don't serve it in America because it is a live octopus on a salad, and you eat, and that is pre-prepared, but it's still alive when you eat it.
Interesting.
And you can't get that dish in United States.
Oh, of course you can't. Because it's alive. Why would you want to eat something that's alive? Ah, it's moving. Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But that is something. When I was in Japan last October, I was in Kyoto, and I was lost, and I went down this alley at this very crowded little restaurant. It was crowded, so that's kind of a traveler rule. You go where it's crowded, not where it's not crowded. So I went in and I found a place at the bar, and everything was in Japanese. There was no English. Tokyo, there's English subtitles everywhere, but in Kyoto, there's not, especially down the alleys. So I pointed to this dish, and they brought it to me, and it was moving, but it was not. It was not alive, but it was moving. It was an incredible noodle dish.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm speechless, honestly.
Yes, it was it's a dish that they use flakes, skimmed flakes of a fish that they invest into the noodles. And then when you put it on an extremely hot plate, it makes the food move. So it's moving while you eat it. It's incredible. And it tasted great too. But I had to eat it not knowing what it was because I didn't have
Yes.
anyone to speak that spoke English that could tell me. I had no one to ask. But it was good.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. And especially if you're going somewhere that isn't tourist friendly, that's where you find the most authentic of domestic dishes.
Right. And that's where I'm traveling looking for. I'm looking for the places where the local people are and where they're eating. That's where I want to go.
Yes, absolutely. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be?
And travel safely. If the answer is travel safely so I can get out, I would love to go to Russia. I always planned to go to Russia. I'm a Russophile. I have the history memorized, the culture. I love the music. I've read all the literature. I intended to go to Russia to ride the train like Tolstoy writes about in Anna Karenina, to explore the country the way I explore other countries. Now, I probably will never get to because of the way things are. But if I could, I would go to Russia. I always will want to go to Russia.
Fantastic. I guess. What is your favorite quote?
It's a Russian quote,
Of
in
course it is.
fact, which is ironic. It's a Russian quote because it tells the soul of Russia so much. And it's no matter how bad it is, we've been here before. It's a proverb. That's all there is to the proverb. But that's a beautiful proverb. There's also a quote from Dylan Thomas, do not go gentle into the good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. I love that poem.
Sweet. Very inspiring.
I also like Richard III when he says, I smile while I murder, and the rest of that quote. I love Richard III.
Yeah, I guess so. Would you rather speak all languages or talk to animals?
I'd rather speak more languages. I can communicate with animals enough. I'm interested in people. And the more languages I could speak, the more I could expand both reading more literature from other countries, like Proust. I love reading Proust, but I can't read French. I wish I could.
Same. Well, it's a good thing I'm learning French right now, along with other languages. In fact, I'm learning like 10 or more all at the same time.
Wow. How do you do that?
Well, one thing, it's all about consistency and having the motivation or a reason for doing something that you want to do. If you have if you have a strong motivation and a certain habit or action to take, in this case, language learning, then you're more inclined to do something consistently if there's some form of motivation associated with that habit.
Right.
And yeah, I've been going strong for like a whole year and
Wow.
I'm still going.
So if you keep it up much longer or for another year or two, the Foreign Service is going to try to scoop you up, aren't they?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Or perhaps one of the military subcontractors. Because they're always
never thought. Oh, interesting. I never knew that, but
oh yeah,
glad I knew.
military contractors. In fact, it's kind of a joke I've had with some of our friends who their children go to college. They don't speak that many languages, not like you. They speak one or two important extra languages, and they wind up getting offers from contractors.
Okay. I guess that makes sense to an extent. And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you on, Russell, talking about your works as an attorney, a writer, and many other things along those lines. It's been great.
Thank you so much. I love talking to you.
Me too. And until next time, stay tuned for more.